Do you struggle with coming up with new and effective chord progressions when composing music? Hi, it's Simon from Composing Academy, and today I'll break down a really useful function in Cubase called the Chord Track, including its benefits and how you can use it to add some spice into your composing process. Okay, so here I am in Cubase, and I'm going to start by adding the actual chord track. There are two ways to do this. Either go to Project, Add Track, and then Chord, or right-click in this track area and select Add Chord Track. You'll then see the chord track appear in the track list here. Right now, if we added chords right away, we wouldn't actually hear anything. That's because we need to set up a sound source for the chords to play through. So let's create an instrument track below the chord track here in order to eventually hear some sound. So right-click and select Add Instrument Track. Select a virtual instrument. I'm going to choose Sonic SE, and then I'll choose a generic sound like this electric piano patch. Once we have a sound loaded, we need to go back to the chord track and tell Cubase to play the chords using the new sound we have just loaded. Click in the area where it says Use Monitor Tracks and select the virtual instrument that you just created. In my case, it would be Sonic SE01. The chords which we'll be creating in the chord track will now use the instrument track to output sound. Let's dive in and create some chords. I'm going to start by selecting the pencil tool up here, or by pressing 8 on my keyboard. I've also got the snap tool turned on, which ensures that the chords I create will fall right on the downbeat of each bar. So to create chords, I'm just going to click at the beginning of each bar, and you'll see that an X is placed each time. Now I'm going to change to the Object Selection tool by clicking up here, or pressing 1 on my keyboard, and then double click on this first chord. Up pops the chord editor, where I can now select the chord I want, using this list on the left-hand side. I want a C major for this first chord, so I'm going to click on C in this first column. The second column also has changed to a major chord automatically. If we wanted to add a chord tension, such as a seventh, we could click that here, and this far right-hand column also allows you to change the bass note. So with C major now selected, you can see that the X on the actual chord track has now changed to C major. To move on to the next chord, I can click this right arrow in the top right-hand corner of the window. One of the first really cool features of the chord track is the Chord Assistant. Clicking on the tab will open up additional areas: the circle of fifths, proximity, and list. The circle of fifths is a visual representation showing us the relationship between various keys and chords in terms of how close or far away these keys or chords are from each other. You can see that we have C at the top here. The closer the chords are to C, the more likely that they will work well as part of a chord progression in C. So F and G are both the fourth and fifth chords in the C major scale, which will work well played one after another. Chords at the opposite side of the circle, say G flat major at the bottom here, won't flow as smoothly from C major because the keys don't share any similar notes. For more information on the circle of fifths, check out my recent video at the link above. We can also use the chord proximity tab down here to find chords that will work well together in a progression. The C major chord we started out with is now on the bottom. The chords that have a green label are closely related, and the yellow and then orange and red are all chords which get progressively further away from working smoothly with the original C major chord. Okay, so using this, I'm going to choose the remaining chords. I'm going to go for an F for the second chord, A minor for the third, and G for the fourth chord. Let's press play and listen to the chords. Now we have our chord selected, there are some additional parameters which Cubase lets us change, such as chord voicings. We've got three options of basic, piano, and guitar, and for each of these there are then additional voicing options in this field below. So if we have the piano voicing selected, if I click on this lower button, you can see that there is a list of 5 additional voicing options, which all help to add some additional colour to the chords I've originally selected. I'm going to select Pop 1, and let's take a listen to see how the chords have changed. Once you have a set of chords you're happy with, you can either leave the chords up in the chord track, or if you select them all, by pressing Ctrl or Command and A, you can then click and drag them down to the instrument track, where the MIDI notes for each chord will appear. This can be a really useful feature if you want to dive in and tweak any of the notes or voicings like so. You'll want to make sure that the original chord track is muted though, otherwise you'll hear two versions of your chords. When combined with other MIDI functions such as MIDI inserts, the chord track can really help to add some instant inspiration when composing. Firstly, I'm going to change the sound we have here from an electric piano sound to something a little shorter, like some staccato strings. Next, I'm going to load the Apache SX plugin that comes with Cubase. I'm going to select a pattern such as this one called Fat Arp, and also change the tempo from 120 BPM to 80. Let's take a listen to how this sounds when I press play. You can see us turn the chords into notes of the chord playing separately, one after another in rhythm. This is a fun way to come up with elements such as ostinatos, particularly when using sounds like these staccato strings. If you find a pattern that you like, you can render the actual MIDI notes used by first turning the chord progression into a loop cycle in Cubase. This is achieved by selecting all of the chords by pressing Ctrl or Command and A, and then pressing P on your keyboard. Then click the cycle button down here in the transport panel. Now if you go up to MIDI and then merge MIDI in loop, you get this dialog box. Make sure Include Inserts and Arrange Destination is selected. Then press OK and watch how your new arpeggiated pattern appears as MIDI notes that you can then further edit. So there's a rundown of the chord track in Cubase. You can see that it can be used in numerous ways, not only for helping you to decide which chords to use in your piece, but also to help inspire you when composing or even help you get out of a writer's block. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more composing and music theory tips and tricks. Also be sure to check out my free beginner's guide to writing cinematic music in 5 easy steps ebook, a link of which is in the description below.